Okay. I saw a comment asking if I was still even doing this book, and I'm like, yeah, I am. So, yeah, I'm going to work on this. Someone also actually commented that I probably need to invest in a new recording setup, and I'm very confused by that. Like, was my audio too low? Was I too loud? I don't know what was going on with that. So, if this is too loud for you guys, let me know, because I don't even know if it's technically too loud, because nobody has mentioned it, as far as I know. Okay, let's see. R2. The old man seeks an apprenticeship. What in the world? Arriving via teleport in the Great Overlord Labyrinth, I am greeted by an astonishing sight. This is the very same place where that great being destroyed my squad. That large cavern, which the guide said connects to the middle stratum, is crawling with an innumerable amount of creatures. A swarm of white spiders as far as the eye can see. They vary greatly in size, both large and small. The smallest could likely fit in the palm of a human's hand, but even the largest aren't quite tall enough to reach my waist. These large ones are just about the same size as a young Terratect might be. Indeed, the monsters bear a strong resemblance to Terratects, but with one major difference. Their two front legs are shaped like scythes. They are the spitting image of the Master of Magic, but while they may be similar in appearance, the power of these monsters pales in comparison. Okay, now I get the whole Nightmare's Vestige thing. The thing that Julius and them fought before, and the thing that him and the others fought before was the Master of Magic, in his opinion. The one that Julius fought before and killed is one of her children, essentially. The ones that I'm assuming that went rogue. And I'm assuming that's also the same for what Shlaine and the others went through, where they found a number of them. I'm assuming they're the Nightmare's Vestiges, aka her kids. Or probably partially her body, her magic brains and all that, but... So that explains that, at least. The power of these monsters pales in comparison. Their size appears to directly correspond to their strength. The smallest ones seem so weak that I could likely crush them beneath my foot without hit resistance. However, the large ones are decently strong. The power I sense from them is enough that a greenhorn adventurer would likely struggle to defeat even one. I can scarcely begin to count how many of them are crowded in here. There must be hundreds at the very least. Not only that, but their numbers are still increasing. Countless small, round objects are scattered on the floor, and it almost seems as if the endless tide of spiders is protecting them. Eggs. As I look on, some of the eggs hatch, and a small white spider emerges from each. The freshly hatched spiders quickly devour the eggs from which they had just emerged, then scurry off to leave the cavern. I have hidden myself with a stealth skill and illusion magic as the small spiders stream right past me. As they do so, other spiders scuttle back into the room carrying the corpses of monsters. I stood there in amazement as the constantly flowing stream of spiders moved past me in either direction. My blood runs cold, though not as much as it did when that great being directed its magic at me. That I hid myself right away is a lucky thing indeed. I could take them one at a time quite easily, but taking on all these spiders at once and walking away in one piece is unimaginable. I have refrained from appraising any of them lest they notice me, but I would imagine that the large ones have stats that average somewhere in the 300s. Maybe more, we don't know. Because I don't remember what her stats were when she hatched from the egg. I think they were about the same, maybe? I can't remember. Let me know. Still, I'd probably be able to handle them. It would not be an easy fight by any means, but I would stand a decent chance of emerging victorious. But I doubt there is any way I could deal with the creatures in the center of this madness. In the middle of the room stands a group of spiders who look the same as the rest. However, the similarities end there. On the inside, they are different beasts entirely. There are 9 of them, no less. And every one of them is intently focused on laying more eggs. Do all her children have the ability to lay eggs? If so, then we are in trouble, and our spider friend might be in trouble. If she tries to come back and deal with this. She might be in trouble even with her stats. Numbers are everything. The 9 in the center eat the monster corpses brought back by the other spiders, and they continue to lay eggs. More tiny spiders emerge from these eggs, set off to hunt and return with monster corpses. In the process, no doubt some of those spiders become prey instead of predator, but it matters not, for more spiders are hatching far faster than their kin could possibly die. And of course, the spiders who survive gain experience for the monsters they've killed, and they level up. That is a spectacle currently unfolding before my eyes. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I wonder what our spider friend thinks of all this. And yet it is exhilarating. Look at them! Those tiny, trifling spiders who have only just hatched. So weak that anyone could easily crush them underfoot. And yet if these weakling spiders grow, they can become strong enough to overwhelm a rookie adventurer. Almost like cookie adventurer. Yeah, I thought it cookie. And in a considerable short period of time, too. When I tasted miserable defeat here at the hands of that great being, I saw nothing like this happening. At the very least, that means this mass production can only have started at some point after that battle. Yeah. And since this is right after what happened with Sophia and the others, and them getting attacked by Batimus, this isn't that far ahead. Sophia, as far as we know, is still a baby at this point. This isn't too far into the future. In such a short span of time, these larvae have somehow become strong enough to threaten human adventurers. Just what kind of hellish experience would they have to go through for that to happen? No. It is not merely hellish. This cannot be anything but hell itself. It's exactly as I theorized. As theorized before, the rate of eggs being laid is it has to exceed the rate of young spiders dying. That means these spiders are being put through a literal hell that goes beyond metaphor, where their lives may as well be forfeit. I see, that must be it. That's the cause of this exponential rate of growth. It's hell. They must survive hell in order to grow, and that's what our spider friend did. She survived literal hell in order to even survive and grow and become what she is. How did that great being acquire its strength? Just what you said, essentially. She went through that. How did it ascend to a state of mind that no amount of effort has allowed me to reach? I don't know if you're if you're actually clueless as to how it did it, or if you're just restating that what you just said is the reason why it's gotten this strong. Though he's kind of missing a big chunk of it, that the spider was once human. That it was a reincarnation, and thus has the mind of a human in there. That's how. Sorry. How did it ascend to a state of mind that no amount of effort has allowed me to reach? I didn't realize the answer would be so simple. I simply wasn't making enough effort. Merely training my skills and mind in a safe, secure place was far too tepid an attempt to elevate me to new heights. Pathetic. Oh, how my eyes are finally open after seeing all this for myself. The effort I have put forth until now was wildly insufficient. Agreed. Compared to the intense experience these spiders have packed into their short existence, risking life and limb all the while, my life has been absolutely meaningless. Overcome by this realization, I began to weep. My sobs ring out as the tears start to flow, but of course this causes the nearby spiders to notice me. Yeah, you might want to either leave or plead for your life, because they might try to kill you and eat you. Because to them, you're probably just seen as prey to eat. Several surround me, preparing to attack at any moment. They're acting on the command of one of the 9 unique spiders in the middle of the cavern. Oh, please wait. I mean you no harm. Please have mercy and hear me out. I hurriedly wipe away my tears and somehow choke back the sobs. You are surely connected in some way to the master, the one they call the Nightmare. Please arrange for me to become the Nightmare's apprentice. I beg of you. They're going to be very confused. I don't even know what our spider friend would think of this. She'd probably be very confused. The moment I finish speaking, my sobbing begins again. As I prostrate myself before them, still shedding tears, the white spiders stare down at me as if in utter bewilderment. Yeah, they are. They're very confused. Very confused. And rightfully so, considering, like I said, what I just said, essentially. Alas, my request was not to be granted. The spiders seem to have decided to leave me alone. They probably think you're too pathetic. Or like, we're not dealing with this. Let's go. No attacks are forthcoming, but neither is acknowledgement. They simply act as though I do not exist in accordance with the order of the 9 in the center. Okay. The 9 converse with one another via telepathy. They communicate not with any human or demon language, but a strange one I have never heard before. Japanese? Maybe? Though I was able to hear their conversation, I could not understand the words they used. Judging by their tone, it seemed as though they were debating something, but I haven't the faintest idea of what was said. I suppose they must have been discussing how to deal with me and reached the conclusion that they would ignore me. However, even if they pay no attention to me, I cannot give up. It is clear these spiders are connected to that great being in some way. The 9 in the center have a presence that feels especially similar to the Nightmares. At a glance, it would be easy to mistake them for the real thing. I mean, to be fair, we don't know how many parallel minds she's got at this point. She said she cut off them, and one of them is in the Demon Lords, so that's one other parallel mind. How many did she have? Because it says there's 9. Did she have 10? But 10 of them in total? I mean, if she's hit Parallel Minds level 10, that would make sense, because every time she leveled up that, she gained a new one. So, that would make sense now. I wonder what she called them all, and what she had them working on. I don't know. Yes, they must be closely linked to the Master. I have no doubt that they are expending their forces like this on that Master's orders, in which case surely the Nightmare will come to visit this place eventually. When that happens, I can negotiate with it directly. For now, I must wait for my chance. No matter what, I will have that Master take me on as an apprentice, that I might someday catch up to its strength. That being said, I cannot simply stand around and wait. Instead, I must learn from these spiders and undertake a hellish training of my own. First to consider are the youngest spiders who venture out to hunt monsters. Fighting monsters to the death is certainly a form of training in itself, but the spiders I must learn from are in fact the grown spiders who remain here in the cavern. You see, they are not simply resting here on their laurels. They have in fact broken up into groups, each tasked with their own training regiment. This, too, is so intense that they could surely easily die if they were to err in the process. A wild gale blows through the cavern. It builds to a whirling channel of destruction, assailing little spiders, or all the spiders in its path, yet the apparent victims take it head-on without attempting to dodge, accumulating wounds on their bodies, but these injuries close up almost immediately. One of the spiders is using wind magic to attack the group, while a different spider uses healing magic to repair the damage. They repeat this process again and again because, yeah, they're boosting up their healing magic and boosting up their wind resistance as well as the wind magic itself. In a different part of the cavern, another group is undergoing a similar process with earth magic. The purpose? It must be to raise their resistance skill levels. At the same time, the attacking and healing spiders are improving their magic skills. They repeat the process until they are nearly out of MP, at which point another spider takes over. Then the spider who has relinquished that role joins the ranks of those working on the resistance while waiting for its MP to recover. Once the rotation is complete, all the spiders will have leveled up their magic and resistance skills. Not only that, but their automatic recovery skills and the like benefit as well. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. And I still am worried for our spider friend that this is going to come back and bite her in the butt for this. Because we don't know if she ends up going to check on this later. And if she doesn't, they are in trouble. time spent waiting for their MP to recover is used to build up other skills. What incredibly efficient training! Since the spiders immediately switch to an attacking role the moment they're fully regained their MP, all kinds of spells are flying around the cavern. Any spiders who are not occupied with this are sparring with one another. Or perhaps the bouts are too intense to be merely called sparring. The trainees assault each other with genuine intent to kill. However, even the most dire wounds are immediately healed by other spiders with healing magic keeping them alive. Without that, the battered spiders would surely die. Sparring matches where every participant fights with the intent to kill, to land killing blows, this is scarcely different from a real battle. This is how they build up combat experience and sharpen their techniques. When I follow one group of spiders into the rear of the cave, I discover that it leads to a long downward slope, at the end of which is a world of fire and flame. So they're essentially going down to the middle strata to build their fire resistance. Simply standing in that heat is enough to sear the skin. This must be the legendary middle stratum. There, in the middle of that incandescent heat, the spiders frantically cast healing magic on one another, evidently trying to cancel out the damage from the heat. They're training to build up their fire resistance skill. Incredible. I have no other words for it. Yeah, this is what our spider friend has been doing the past, almost a little bit more than 3 volumes, essentially, is what she's been doing. Each and every hellish training exercise undertaken here is likely too dangerous for a human to attempt, not that any would even think to try. One wrong step would mean certain death, and yet they train like that constantly without rest. Truly, this is hell. What else could I possibly call a training regimen that is the stuff of nightmares, bordering on madness beyond the grasp of any human? This is it. This is the path to greater heights that I have longed for my whole life. I had assumed I was already making my best effort before, but it is clear to me now that I was deeply mistaken. It wasn't nearly enough. Training within the realm of sound reason was a foolish error. If I am not putting my life on the line, as if I am making no effort at all. I must cast aside all reason given to madness and fling myself into the very abyss if I wish to truly exert myself for the very first time. My existence up until now has been such a pathetic thing. Now that I have borne witness to this training from hell, my feeble attempts seem like naught but a game. I shall begin following their example at once, committing everything to my training. To start, I cast attack magic on myself and allow the blow to land cleanly. Pain pierces... Dude, are you doing this in the cave? One of the spiders busy watching this wondering, what the fuck is this old guy doing? Whatever. At least nobody else is seeing this, because then they really would judge you. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Did you go crazy? Then I immediately cast healing magic, restoring my HP, and yet I am already on my knees, after only one attack, and I must repeat this continually? Truly this is torture beyond belief. Well, duh, this is what she went through. There is only one of me, so I must assume the role of both attacker and healer. If I fail, I will surely die on the spot. Physical agony and the fear of death both assail me at once. Surely no one of ordinary mind and body could imitate this, even if I am terrified of continuing down this path. But if I can overcome this, then the heights I yearn for await me on the other side. If I ever wish to reach them, I must not stumble now. I loose another spell on myself. This is the magic I have cultivated in my pathetic life thus far. Though feeble it may have been, I at least have the advantage of many years on my side. My magic is stronger than 3 spiders, but I will still use their methods. If I am stronger than they, then surely I will grow quicker as well. But alas, I cannot avoid this frustration bubbling up. If I had been undergoing this sort of training throughout my long life, then I surely would be far closer to the pinnacle of magic by now. Maybe? We don't know. If only I could have met the master sooner. I wish I had experienced this environment since I was a child. No, perhaps even when I was a baby. No, dude, it would have had to been when you were a child at the very earliest. Because there's no way you would have been able to do anything as a baby. There's no way. Because you wouldn't have understood anything. And you wouldn't have had the mental capability to even try to use magic, let alone understand what was going on. Then I might have strength comparable to the Master's by now, but no, surely it is not too late. Abandon all common sense and reason. The training I thought was testing my limits is child's play compared to this hell. Which means the boundaries I've struggled against my whole life stand on little more than my own assumptions. If I can reach a point where the torments of this hell feel like lukewarm bathwater, then surely I will far exceed my own limits. I will pass through this circle of hell into the next one, where that great being will surely guide me to never-before-seen heights and uncharted depths. A laugh spills from my lips unbidden. Perhaps I have truly taken leave of my senses. I don't know. I would think not, considering you know this is crazy, and yet and then again, you still do it. So maybe. But if madness is what it takes to survive this hell, then I will happily cast away my sanity. I devoted myself to this purgatory for several days, but as I did not bring any means of sustenance with me, my stomach is reaching its limits. I contemplated returning to town temporarily, but I cannot take things so lightly anymore. Surely, besides, this is no way of telling when the master might return here. I cannot risk leaving if there is any chance that the nightmare might visit while I'm away. Thus, I follow the spider's suit once again, namely defeating monsters nearby and consuming their flesh. Dude, you're gonna die. Actually, no, at this point, he's going to live, considering he ends up being the one to, snipe away at Schlaine and the others when they're trying to get to the tower to rescue his family. So, he survives. It's just so fucking weird to see a human doing this. I first defeated a frog monster, cooked its meat, and consumed it. The thought of eating it raw turned my appetite so much that I decided to allow myself that one small compromise. But the monster was poisonous, and it wreaked havoc on my stomach. I thought I might truly die, but in the process, my poison resistance level rose. To think that even the food the spiders consume is part of their training. It is. In the Great Overlord Labyrinth, simply living from one day to the next is enough to raise one's skills. Attempting to see in total darkness raises the night vision skill. Staying vigilant against monsters that might attack from that nigh impenetrable gloom raises detection-related skills. Fighting these monsters raises combat skills, and exposure to their poison raises resistance. All this is what made our spider friend the way she is. Added to the fact that she's got a human brain inside there, too. Helps with that. Simply surviving in this unique environment helps to cultivate many skills, and if one adds hellish training and study on top of that harsh day-to-day existence, I am beginning to catch a glimpse of the secret behind that great being's strength. The master must have constantly faced death in a struggle of life or death here in the Great Overlord Labyrinth, all while ceaselessly striving to grow better in order to reach such heights. I'm surprised that he hasn't thought that maybe, wait, how does a monster know to do this? Even on instinct, I would assume that monsters don't normally do this. It is no wonder that one such as me, residing within a mansion and the safety of a town, was no match for its power. To live in this place, one must cast aside even the most basic human necessities. My clothes were ripped to shreds by the end of the first day of attacking myself with magic, and now I go about fully in the nude. I imagine that's not very appealing to see. I feel bad for the spiders. This is truly what they call living in the wild, and is the only way to cultivate my skills to their greatest potential. I wonder what his assistant thinks about all this. Which he's probably wondering, where the frick did my master go? Where'd he go? Because he's now down there full time. I wonder where where is he getting water from? Does he have water magic to be able to create water to drink? Otherwise, he's going to eventually die, because he can't go without water. Because he eventually has to have water. Okay, here we go. Oh god, here we go! Here we go, we got the other side of this little encounter. Oh dear lord. Conversation. Meeting at the Parallel Mines. 2. Creepy old geezer. Oh no. That old dude who popped in here is super weird. First of all, don't say popped in. Secondly, nothing that weird could occur naturally. It must be some freaky thing born of totally unique circumstances that just wearing the skin of an old man. What kind of unique circumstances would create a creature that spews liquid from every part of its face? I'm assuming that's when he was weeping. When he was crying from his eyes, snot was coming out of his nose, going down past his mouth. No. Beats me. There are probably lots of things in the world that we're better off not knowing. He's not wrong. They're not wrong on that one. Wait a sec, he's setting his own clothes on fire and cackling like a maniac. What should we do? He's doing the same thing y'all are doing, essentially. What's that all about? Seriously, what the hell? What are we even gonna do about that? Anyone? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see or hear anything. There's no such thing as a naked old geezer around here, right? Yeah, we don't see anything. There's nothing here. We don't know. We don't see anything. Essentially, they're denying it. Deny, deny, deny. Yes, ma'am. No objections here. For real. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with whatever that is. We just gotta seriously pretend it's not even here. Oh, great. Excuse me. I do wonder if they're even in contact with the one in charge of the original mind, essentially. Because surely they would have let her know, hey, there's something weird going on down here. There's this old guy down here, and he's kind of, being weird. Surely they would have done that. At the very least, I would have told her that. Even if they were planning on going against her, surely they would have let her know that. Surely that's something weird she'd like to know about. To at least stay in her good graces so she doesn't turn on them, you know? Terrifying. My fear resistance skill isn't even helping now. Talk about scary. Oh, God. V2, misfortune is a funny thing. She must be crazy, right? I mean, I suspected it for a while, but now I'm certain. She's extremely detached from humanity. I am referring, of course, to White, who's currently looking at me with an expression of genuine puzzlement. Oh, this is Sophia. I think this is Sophia's point of view. You see, she just made a completely impossible request of me, and yet she clearly doesn't understand why I'm not going to do it. Even I can't help getting angry. Of course it's impossible. Why would I use attack magic on myself? Yes, her absurd request was like I hurt myself with magic until I'm nearly out of MP, no less. I mean, technically, I understand what she's wanting you to do. She's wanting you to raise your resistance skills and raise your magic power at the same time, because that's what the old geezer's doing. But she's just a baby. I don't even think she has any way to use her magic right now. She probably doesn't even have the skills she needs to use her magic, so what is she supposed to do? Even if she had the skills, she's just a baby. Do you think she wants to do that on herself? No, wait till she's a little older first, then have her do that. Okay, it's been over a month since the journey began. In that time, my stats and skills have shot up at a remarkable rate under White's training, and now she's asking me to take the next step in her little regimen. She even demonstrated by attacking herself with dark magic, something that looked like black lightning struck her body, but White didn't even react. She looked so calm about it that I figured it must not hurt, so I reached out and touched the lightning. In that instant, much to my horror, my hand went flying off. That's right, my hand came off. Do you understand what I'm saying? As soon as I touched the lightning, my vision went black, and the next thing I knew, my hand was no longer attached to my wrist. I've never passed out from sheer terror before. Not in this life or my previous one. When I woke up, my face was a mass of tears and snot, and Marizofis was holding me, and my missing hand was back where it belonged. I guess it was fixed with healing magic right away, but I had been in too much of a panic to realize it. Even once I returned to my senses, I still couldn't stop my crying, and Marizofis had to cradle me reassuringly for a few more minutes. When I noticed that Marizofis' clothes were now soaked and snotty, I almost wanted to die. And the moment I finally calmed down, White spoke up, completely oblivious to the mood. Okay, now you try. I'm not gonna do that! That's hardly any different from telling me to die. How can she demand that so calmly? The only explanation I have is that she's crazy. And yet she has the nerve to cock her head at me like she's confused that I'm against it. You need to explain why you're asking her to do this. Just saying that you want her to do this is going to just confuse her. She's not going to know why. Now, if you explained why, maybe she might be a little bit more understanding of why you're asking this of her, but still, she probably wouldn't like it. But she'd be more understanding as to the reasoning. Her expression hardly ever changes, but she gets her emotions across a little with gestures like this. She often did the same thing in our old world, too. And if she has no other way of expressing her feelings, normally that would seem disingenuous, but somehow when White does it, it's almost charming. Beautiful people have all the luck. After considering my reaction, White assumes a pose like the thinker statue. Immediately an uncomfortable feeling assails my body. I know now that it's the feeling that comes with being appraised. I felt it quite often since this journey started. Since it means someone else is reading your status, your personal information, it's only natural that you would feel strange. I think White wants to figure out whether I can actually do what she wants. Yeah, because like I said, she needs the proper skills in order to even do it in the first place. Because that's the whole reason why she wasn't able to use magic for the longest time until she finally got the right skills. Then, evidently concluding that I should be able to do it, she tilts her head a little, still in the thinker pose. She doesn't get it. Whether I'm physically capable and whether I'm actually willing to do it are two entirely different things. I mean, can anyone jump off a cliff, right? Or anyone can jump off a cliff, right? But that doesn't mean most people would do it simply because they were told to. A White saying isn't far off from that, but she can't fathom why I would refuse. Like I said, she needs to explain why she's asking this of you. Or I would at least ask, why are you asking me to do this? And then maybe if you got a reason, maybe it might be more understanding, but still I wouldn't want to do it, but still. Something is wrong with her. I certainly don't enjoy it when she trains me by walking me with her spider thread, but I accept it because there's a fairly good reason for it. Although even then, it's not like White was the one who told me the reason. Ariel had to explain it to me for her. White would rather either force me to do it without explanation or give a demonstration and then order me to do the same, just like this time. Either way, she never explains the logic behind her demands, then why don't you ask? Ask, why the hell are you asking me to do this to myself? Hello, that's all you gotta do. And then maybe she might explain, or Ariel would explain for her. Listen, White, I think you're gonna have to explain this time, or she's not gonna do it, okay? Yeah, thank you! Thank you. Of course, as usual, Ariel steps in to reason with her, but White doesn't answer or explain. Oh, alright, I'll explain then. Hitting yourself with attack magic is meant to train both your magic skills and resistance skills. Your magic skills will improve because you're casting the spell, and your resistance skills will improve because you're enduring the hit. 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Of course, your resistance technically goes up anyway when you use magic or other skills of the corresponding attribute, but it's seriously an itty-bitty amount, so it makes sense to try to actively raise both at once. That being said, most people aren't crazy enough to train by harming themselves. Thanks to Ariel's explanation now, I understand the point of the training, but exactly as she said, I doubt most people would be crazy enough to try this. There's one person who would do it besides White. It's the old geezer. Causing yourself massive near-fatal injury to raise a resistance skill that's meant to reduce the amount of damage you take? Isn't that putting the cart before the horse? That explanation isn't really cutting it for you, is it, Sophia? I'm sure you're wondering why anyone would put their life on the line just to raise their skills. But what happened earlier was only because White's magic is so strong. Normally you wouldn't use such an intense attack. Since you're the one casting the spell, you can make it as strong or as weak as you like, really. My eyes widen at that. When I think about Ariel's words for a minute, not to mention the strength of my own magic, it finally makes sense. Of course, it's not like I'd actually have to use magic so strong that it could blow off my hand like earlier. In fact, I'm not even capable of that in the first place. And even if I could, of course I wouldn't use it on myself. It's like, just whip yourself with, like, very weak magic, essentially. Use weak magic on yourself. That's what she's saying. She's not saying to go all out. I was under a mistaken assumption the entire time, but all I have to do is use magic weak enough that I can bear it, right? When I finally figured that out, all my panicking suddenly seems pitiful. It's so simple, but I was blathering away that I couldn't do it. No wonder White was tilting her head at me. I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry. I made a huge fuss based on a wrong assumption. The least I could do is apologize. Nah, I can't really blame you after what happened, especially since White didn't explain a damn thing. She should have at least waited for you to calm down a little before she started going off. But she doesn't really know how to be that tactful. And Ariel half glares at White, who seems to recoil a little. Maybe she actually feels bad? I thought she might even apologize for blowing off my hand and all, but in the end, White didn't open her mouth. I don't know if she ever really talks that much. If at all. Our journey seems to be going well. That being said, our destination, Sariella's capital, is still far away. Karen County, where we once lived, is at the very edge of Seriella. The capital is somewhere in the middle, but Seriella is a rather large country, so of course it's a considerable distance away. And since our group has to match its pace of mine, we're not getting anywhere fast. I'm somehow walking with the help of the mysterious power of stats, but that doesn't make my legs any longer. Naturally, the distance I can travel is a lot shorter than an adult. It doesn't help that since we're trying to keep from being seen, we're traveling through harsh mountains, dense forests, and so on, not anywhere with nice, easy paths. I've even gotten used to sleeping outside, although it helps that we get to stay in a town once in a while. Yeah, because Merazopis needs to eat. Yet for some reason, every time we visit a town, Merazopis always looks unhappy. Yeah, he's got to take blood. And from what I can see in the next sentence, he doesn't tell you. I've asked him a few times what's the matter, but he only ever says that everything is fine. I'm sure he doesn't want to worry me, but it only makes me even more certain that something is definitely wrong. I wish he would talk to me about it, but Merazopis feels an obligation to protect me at all times. He doesn't want to trouble his master with his own personal problems, so instead he bottles them up inside. But seeing him suffering on his own still ends up troubling me. Isn't there anything I can do for Merazopis? He's helped me so much. I'd love to return the favor at least a little. Without Merazopis, I'm sure I'd be done by now. And I mean that both physically and mentally. If Merazopis hadn't put his life on the line to protect me, I would have been killed that day by Patimus the elf, and even after finding out that I'm a reincarnation and a vampire, he still continued to put me first in everything he does. Surely she would think that, wait, I made him a vampire. Doesn't he need to drink blood? Surely she would know that, from being in our world where lore on vampires is readily available, whether she knows it or not, I don't know. I can't even say how much that he has helped me. Merazopis is the only reason I've been able to get through these circumstances without breaking. Because of him, I've been able to accept this world for what it is without trying to escape. When I first reincarnated here, I told myself that this world was just a dream or something. After all, it clearly wasn't. Japan had strange things like stats, and most of all, I was a vampire. It wasn't easy to accept that this is my new reality. Surely having my old self reset and being forced to start over in this bizarre new world was just a bad dream. But no matter how long it went on, I didn't wake up, and I had to acknowledge that this was my reality. I vowed to start a new life in this new world with my new parents. And then they both died. Right after I vowed to put aside my feelings about my old life and move forward, I lost nearly everything all over again. A reset after a reset. It's no surprise that I really wanted to run away from reality this time. But Merazopis is the one who saved me from that. I lost everything else, but Merazopis stayed with me. He became the proof that there was a time where I lived in that mansion and was loved by those parents, no matter how short it might have been. Because he is here to remind me of that, I can keep my eyes on reality. Merazopis saves me simply by existing. I can't ever thank him enough. Which is why I want him to put aside his worries about our roles and let me help him. But no matter how many times I ask him, he just won't answer. Do you have any idea what might be troubling Merazopis, Miss Ariel? I'm asking Ariel for advice. It's the middle of the day and the sun is shining brightly, but Ariel and I are the only ones awake. As vampires, Merazopis and I are nocturnal. So other than when we visit a town, we're naturally started doing most of our travel at night. Thus, Merazopis is now resting in the shade. White is resting too in a cocoon of sorts made from white thread. Apparently, it's a simple home made of spider thread. White has status condition nullification, which includes exhaustion nullification, so technically she doesn't have to sleep. However, that really just means that not sleeping doesn't have any negative effects for her. She still gains the benefit of sleep like physical healing. Most of all, sleeping still feels good, so she does it when she's in the mood as far as I can tell. Since the two of them are asleep, it's the perfect chance to get advice. I can't talk about it in front of Merazopis himself, of course, and I don't want White to hear it. Besides, given how silent and expressionless she is, I doubt she'd understand such a delicate topic. Despite Ariel's youthful appearance, she has countless years of experience, and she always looks after us like our elder, so I feel safe consulting her. This time, however, she only frowns after listening to my question, not giving me a clear answer. Does she not know what's bothering Merazopis, or is it that she does know and is so serious that she hesitates to reveal it to me? Miss Ariel, is Baron Sophus' problem that serious? I asked nervously. Yeah, I suppose so, she responds frankly, but it's not like his life is in danger or anything. It's not the kind of thing that's going to cause immediate problems, but it's not the kind of thing that can be solved immediately either. I seriously can't tell if she's trying to reassure me or make me worry even more. After a moment of silence, Ariel opens her mouth again. To be perfectly honest, there's nothing you can do about it. That's hard for me to accept. I mean, to be fair, she's right. You can't really do anything about it. You can't go and make him not a vampire again. And you can't exactly give him blood either, so... yeah. But I think Ariel knew it would be when she said it. I don't normally hear her speak so firmly. In fact, if you try to get involved, it might only make things more complicated. And by might, I mean definitely will. So I understand you're worried, but all you can do right now is give him space. Me getting involved would make it more complicated? What does that mean? I'm sure it's frustrating, but the best thing you can do for him is nothing at all. Sticking your nose in it will only make things worse. I understand that when someone you care about is suffering, you want to help them, but this is one situation where you'll have to pretend like nothing's wrong. I think you're acting normally. You acting normally would be the best thing for Marizophis right now. He'll likely figure it out on his own, little by little, so try not to worry. I don't really understand what Ariel's saying, since I don't know what's bothering Marizophis so much. The whole thing is very vague, but I do get the gist of what she wants from me. Don't do anything. Part of me does want to reject that, of course, but her statement that I would only make things worse stops me in my tracks. I want to help, but I'd make things more complicated, so all I can do is stay quiet? Can't you at least tell me what's bothering Marizophis so much, please? Knowing would make it easier to accept that I can't help. Sorry, but I think you're better off not knowing, so nope. It sounds like she's mocking me. Please don't joke about this. My tone via telepathy gets angry, but her response is surprisingly serious. I'm not really trying to, she says simply. It's just better this way. Like I said before, it's best if you don't get involved in this situation, both for Marizophis' sake and your own. For my own sake? That's all I can tell you. I'm sure that doesn't make you feel much better, but you gotta trust Marizophis and wait for it now. Despite my stubbornness, Ariel doesn't seem willing to say any more. Or do you not trust Marizophis, little Miss Sophia? That's playing dirty. Ariel can be very unfair sometimes. I don't know if it's because of her age, but she has a tendency to say things in a way that makes it impossible to argue. Of course I do, I answer reluctantly. What else am I supposed to say? I do trust Marizophis. Since she put it that way, it seems like I really do have no choice but to trust him and wait. Glad to hear it. To be honest, I didn't know what I was going to do if you kept bugging me to tell you. I don't want to tell you, of course. But you can be almost as awkward as White when it comes to dealing with other people, you know. I'm afraid if you find out, you won't be able to hide it, and that'll make things awkward between you and Marizophis for sure. Her serious attitude vanishes, and Ariel snickers as she teases me. Please don't compare me to White. Her issues go far beyond being awkward, don't you think? Getting annoyed, I respond crossly without thinking. It's true that no one would say I'm good with people, but I'm not like White, who doesn't make any effort to interact with others in the first place. I did try to connect with others, it just never worked because of my appearance. Yeah? I've been wondering for a while, why are you so hostile toward White anyway? Ariel tilts her head at me, not unlike White's pose when she doesn't understand something. What do you mean, why? Isn't it obvious? Ariel just tilts her head even further. I don't think it's as obvious as you think it is. I mean, White saved your life, didn't she? Why would you hate her so much? That makes me stop and think. She's right. White really did save my life. But instead of being grateful, I just hate her. From Ariel's perspective, I am the one being unreasonable. But, well, she's been so awful to me during this whole entire journey. She's not doing it for no reason, though. We don't know what might happen in the future. So she's trying to train up your stats and skills while we have the chance. I mean, yeah, her Spartan methods are a little over the top, but her intentions are still in the right place. She's just a bit weird, that's all. You know that, right? There's no reason to be so dead set against her. Ariel counters my excuse without missing a beat. I think her training is a good idea, too. There's a lot more fighting in this world than the one you guys came from. Bulking up now is a good move. That's why White decided to train you and why I didn't stop her. Frankly, I think that makes White a lot nicer and more thoughtful than I am. That's not true. I went on to say that, but I managed to swallow those words. Or I want to say it, but I managed to swallow it. Is that really what White is thinking? If I look back objectively on everything White's done, like Ariel says, it does seem like she's simply trying to help me. My stats and skills really have grown at an incredible rate. But somehow I can't accept it. I can't deny that it's been hard on you, though. Guess it's just one of those things, eh? Like when a mother is harsh on her child to make them stronger. Don't compare her to my mother. I shout via telepathy without thinking. The first person who came to mind was my mother in my old life, then my mother in this one. Both of them were admirable people. I can't bear to think of White as being on their level. Sorry, bad example. Ariel apologizes weakly, but I do think it's a bit cruel to denounce the person who saved your life. What kind of person would do that? Those words hit me like a slap in the face. Part of it was that I never heard Ariel's voice sound so cold before, but most of all, she's so right that I have no choice but to acknowledge that I'm the one in the wrong. It doesn't really take a lot of deep thinking to figure that out, does it? From a neutral point of view, openly despising the person who saved me just makes me seem incredibly ungrateful, like a terrible person. I've been arguing with Ariel because I don't want to admit to myself, but that's only made me seem even worse. People often idolize someone who saved their lives, but who ever heard of hating them? So why have I been harboring such anger toward her? I already knew the answer. I'm sorry. Not sure what you're apologizing for, but shouldn't you be saying it to White, not me? Yes, I suppose so. I have to admit it, the ridiculous reason for my hatred toward White. I was jealous. That's the only reason I hate her so much. I was jealous. No, I still am. In my old life, I was incredibly jealous of Hiro Wakaba's stunning good looks, and I carried that jealousy into this world, causing me to hate White, even though she saved my life. That's all, a simple, terrible reason. It's not like Hiro Wakaba ever wronged me. Aside from being in the same class, we barely had any kind of relationship at all. Nonetheless, I harbored a one-sided jealousy and hatred toward her. And when I was reincarnated, just as I vowed to return over a new leaf and literally start life anew, I was reunited with the very person I hated so much. Right when I was losing everything I had, no less. Not to mention, she was one of the main catalysts that caused the battle that took it all away from me, wasn't she? My feelings from my old life and my fury at losing everything, I took it all out on the nearest scapegoat. Even if that happened to be someone who saved my life, I lost it all, yet White still had the same beauty as her old life, while also being incredibly powerful. It just didn't seem fair. But from White's point of view, it must seem like I'm lashing out for no reason. Even after being reborn, I'm still an awful person. Little by little, I tell Ariel about my old life. Since I'm just saying whatever comes to mind, I'm sure it's pretty incoherent and hard to follow. But Ariel still listens quietly until the end. Perhaps that's why I held on to hope that she'd have words of comfort for me. The scathing remark that comes out instead sends me into shock. Sophia, are you stupid? What? Rather, you don't seem to have any imagination when it comes to other people's situations. Although I should have known that already from the fact that you don't know what's bothering Marizophis. Yeah, I have to agree. Considering she made him a vampire to save his life, surely she would think that, wait, vampires have things they've got to deal with, like the sun and needing blood and, you know, stuff like that. You would think that that would have popped into her head after doing it. Or, you know, while they were on this journey, you would think that would have popped into her head, seeing he had the cloak on to keep the sun off him. Surely you would think that would have been the first thing that popped into her head. I guess Ariel's right. She only thinks about herself. Ariel looks down at me like a teacher staring at an incompetent pupil. You only really think about yourself, Sophia. You think you've got it worse than anyone, which is exactly why you don't think of other people. Even right now, you're boo-hooing about how you're awful or whatever, but that kind of fake self-loathing is just a way of shirking the blame for your own actions. You think just because you acted sorry, you don't have to do anything else. That's how you try to justify it, right? Ariel's assessment is merciless. Her words devastate me. I can only stare in shock, not even trying to defend myself. That really is awful, just like you said. I turn pale when she delivers the finishing blow. If Ariel hates me, I'm doomed. If she abandons Marizophis and me, what are we going to do? I've been so terrible to White, I doubt she'll help us. Or I doubt she'd help us. If only that I finally realized. When I think about it, I really am being awful. Like it or not, I finally accept that everything Ariel said is true. Now I really am starting to hate myself, not just in the artificial way Ariel accurately described. Still, it doesn't change the fact that you've gone through some real horrible circumstances. Damn it. Don't worry, it's not like I'm going to dump you now. Somehow Ariel guesses at my worries and reassures me. I'm relieved but also disgusted with myself for being so easy to read. I guess my thoughts are so shallow that anyone can figure them out. Ariel sighs. Maybe I said a bit too much, huh? You're still just a kid. I guess I can be a little childish myself. Evidently realizing that I really am depressed now, she scratches her head awkwardly. A kid? I suppose I am a kid compared to Ariel, and I still am technically a baby, but it nonetheless hurts to hear it out loud. It's like she doesn't think of me as my own person. To Ariel, I must be no more than a difficult child. Putting yourself first isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know. In fact, I think most people are the same way, but you can't let yourself get so self-absorbed that you look down on other people. There's bound to be some folks you don't like, of course, but the adult thing to do is just suck it up and try to get along anyway. So try thinking about your relationship with White from a neutral point of view, why don't you? Not that I'm going to talk, since I don't exactly have the easiest relationship with her myself. That last part is said with a wry tone, but the rest is more like a scolding. I obediently review my relationship with White without taking my emotions into account. In our old world, we frankly didn't have any relationship to speak of. Our first interaction in this world was when she saved me from attacking bandits. After that, she built a nest near the town where I lived, and she stayed there. Although she hadn't said so herself, I suspect she did this to protect me from the elves. For one thing, Ariel once made a comment to that effect. Most importantly, when the elf called Patimus was about to kill me, she saved my life. And even now, she travels with me and keeps me safe. She's been doing nothing but helping me all this time, and I haven't done anything in return. Without thinking, I voiced the question in my mind. Why do you think White would do all that for me? I'm not sure. I don't really understand her, to be honest. She might have some reason behind it, or there might be no reason at all. The tone of her response is joking, but it seemed like she really doesn't know. Thinking back, White's been doing things for me this whole time without ever expecting anything in return. All in spite of my bad attitude. In fact, she's been so devoted, it's almost creepy. It's exactly like Ariel said, when someone receives some kind of free service, they can't help suspecting an ulterior motive behind it. White's kindness toward me has been so excessive that I find myself wondering what her motive is. Ariel even said herself that the reason she's been so kind to Mirazophis and me is because White seems to like us. I do think that Ariel's genuine kindness as a person has something to do with it as well, but it's not like she was lying about that either. The fact is that White is the reason Ariel decided to look after us. If White didn't care about us, even the kind Ariel might not have considered helping us out. So why does White seem to care about our well-being so much in the first place? Because of our old lives? Is that a good enough reason to do this much for us? We were nothing more than classmates. Why would she do all this for someone she hardly ever interacted with? She barely has a conscience in there, I guess, and that's what caused it? I don't know. If our roles were reversed, I doubt I would have done the same. In fact, I couldn't have. I would never risk my life to take out an opponent like Patimus for someone I barely know. If she really did do that for no other reason than the goodness of her heart, well, the word saint comes to mind. She technically has the skill saint or the title saint? I think she has a skill saint. Considering she was, healing all those people and she got the saint skill because of it. So, I mean, you technically could argue that. But, yeah, I don't think she did this out of the goodness of her heart. It's just because she felt like it. Maybe. Who knows? At the same time, I want to remember that she healed the ills and injuries of the townspeople for free and wound up being worshipped for it. Before she was an arachne, when she looked like nothing more than a spider monster, she was accepted and admired by the townspeople. Of course, the fact that they happen to follow a religion that worships a spider as a divine beast of the goddess probably had something to do with it, but I think White's humanity played a big part too. I always thought that looks were everything, but if that was true, how could White get accepted? In this life and the last, was White really admired only because of her appearance? No. Our old world aside, in this world, White was admired even when she was a spider monster. She certainly wasn't welcome because of her appearance. It was her character and actions that made the people of the town acknowledge and worship her. I've been in her good graces all along, yet I hated and envied her for no good reason. Ariel was right, I really am just a stupid kid. I'll start working on changing my attitude from now on. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Changing like that doesn't happen overnight, right? You gotta get used to it over time. I breathe a sigh of relief at Ariel's affirmation. I can't completely change right away, but I'll try to be nicer to White from now on. I thought having a good looks meant you were a winner at life, but no matter how good you might look on the outside, You'll always be ugly if that's how you are on the inside. I still think people who say they don't care about appearance are lying, but I was going too far in the other direction, caring only about how people look. If someone is beautiful both on the inside and outside, that's when they really start to shine. But I never realized that. If I'd gone on without ever noticing that truth, I'm sure I would have kept getting uglier. On the inside, yes. Most likely. You probably would have been one of those arrogant rich kids who would have treated people poorly. And then had a bit of a crisis when you realized that nobody cared about you because despite your good looks, you know. I'll try to become the kind of person who thinks of others like you in white. Right. For some reason, Ariel's expression turned strange. Does White think of other people? But I mean, thinking about everything she's done so far, I don't know. What is she muttering about? I just don't understand her. But as far as you're concerned, I figured she just helped you because you're a reincarnation, too. But would she really go this far if that was the whole reason? Who knows? You'd have to ask White herself. But I don't know, maybe she was just excited. Excited about what? Well, she had just survived hell when she met a fellow reincarnation. Maybe she got so worked up that she saved you without thinking. Doubts fly through my mind as I try to understand what Ariel is saying. White is a spider monster, remember? And she was born in the Great Overlord Labyrinth, the biggest and most dangerous dungeon in the world. She had her work cut out for her just surviving in a place like that. Didn't you ever wonder how she got so strong in the first place? I suppose it is strange now that I think about it. Well, to put it simply, she had to be strong if she wanted to live. It's not like she was born with all that power. She needed to get stronger to survive, so that's what she did. Even if it meant attacking herself with magic to raise her resistance skills, no normal person would think of that, let alone actually do it, but she had to do crazy things if she wanted to live in there. That's it. That's exactly it, that she had to do that essentially in the middle stratum because she was naturally weak to fire, so she had to build up a fire resistance. So she went down there even though she shouldn't have, obviously. And because of that, she got crazy strong, got more skills, and got more abilities, and finally got the ability to use magic. So, I mean, it worked out. I remember the sight of her covered in magic was so powerful that it blew my hand off. My first thought at the time was that she was crazy. But after that, Ariel explained my misunderstanding, and I felt embarrassed about my mistake. When I actually tried it out, though, my opinion changed again. I know I'm flip-flopping here, but I really do think that method is crazy. Even using weak magic on myself sent me writhing in the ground in pain. Of course it did. Those spells are meant for attacking. The goal is to harm the target, so of course it's going to hurt, even if the target is yourself. Wife seemed crazy for being able to do that to herself without her expression changing in the slightest. Why would anyone ever resort to such extreme measures to raise their skills? The old geezer did. He's still probably doing it at this point. I certainly wouldn't have done it if I wasn't essentially being forced. But what if I was in such a dangerous environment that I had no other choice? When she escaped that place and met a fellow human from her old world, she was so excited she decided to do you a favor. Is a possibility, at least. Ariel doesn't sound entirely certain. White is the only person who would know what she was thinking, of course. But now I know with certainty that White went through some really hard times. So White's life has been at least as hard as mine, maybe even worse. She worked herself to the bone to obtain all that strength, and here I am whining that it is unfair. It never occurred to me that what White might have gone through to become that powerful. Well, it'd be pointless to debate who's had it worse. I just want you to know that White's life hasn't been easy either. I'm not asking you to share her excitement about finding a fellow reincarnation, but I wouldn't want you to be on bad terms forever, you know? Of course. I agree because I can't help imagining it, escaping from hell and finding someone from the same world as me. What if that person wound up being cold toward me? If I was in that position, my heart might break. It's all too clear to me now that how awful I'd been toward White. I repaid her kindness with hatred and thought I was in the right. How could I be such an idiot? If I'd thought about it at all, I would have realized how wrong I was. That just shows all I ever thought about was myself, and I never wondered about other people. Does that mean if I give a little thought to Marizopha's problems, I might figure that out too? Alright, you should get to sleep, otherwise you're not going to make it through your next round of hardcore training with White. Ariel's words dispel the idea before I can think about it any further. Alright, good night. My mind is churning with so many thoughts that I'm not sure I'll be able to sleep, but soon exhaustion takes over and my consciousness slips away. My last thought as I drift off to sleep is that I apologize to White for my behavior when I wake up. Okay, I'm going to end this one off here. I'll see you guys in the next video.